Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker. And first of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry that it's been so long since my last upload. I'm going to talk a bit more in detail about that at the end. Because I know it's not for everyone, that most people just want the content and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to skip along to the actual content of the video. But yeah, just a heads up. I will talk a little bit more about it at the end, but I am very, very sorry for my absence over the last, I think it's been 8 or 9 days since my last upload, which wasn't really intentional. But yeah, my hope is to get back into all systems go mode. I'm feeling better. And I'm very excited for what 2024 could bring for the Lorcana community and where I could potentially take my channel and the community over the course of the next year. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I'll talk a bit more about my absence at the end, not in too much detail. But today, we are going to be taking a look at the top 8 deck lists for the Tier 1 Games Lorcana event, which took place on the 30th of December. So I am late for this. I'm going to do my best to catch up and start being more consistent. But back to what you expected from this channel for most of it, which is normally top 8 deck lists going up 24 hours of the event. So yeah, I hope to do better. I apologize once again that I'm a little late on this. But yeah, this event had 52 players, and I think it was the last tournament of 2023. There may have been another one, but it's the last 2023 tournament that I'll be taking a look at. So yeah, let's take a look at the top 8 deck lists. So we don't have a definitive top 4 for this because the top 4 players decided to prize share, but we're going to start off with this deck, from what I understand went undefeated in Swiss. So piloted by Shane, we have Emerald Steel, Bucky Discard, which is taking over the meta. This was popularized recently via a video released by Zephyr, and they got the deck from someone named Zero Skater. Now, about a week, literally just after my hiatus, I had just finished writing an entire script to make a video about this deck, a complete guide to it, and I've already had a load of games that have been recorded and edited up, and I have a video in preparation ready to come out all about this. I just need to actually record the script and just do a bit of editing for it. But yeah, that obviously got put on hold because of my break. But yeah, expect soon to see a video talking about this in a lot more detail. But yes, came to popularization via Zephyr after taking it from Zero Skater. I don't know if they are the original maker of this deck, but from what I understand, it led them very high on the Pixelborn ladder. So yeah, credit to them. But yeah, let's take a look at the deck, which is annoying everyone, especially Ruby Amethyst players. So of course, first off, we've got Bucky, 2-cost Inkable, 1/1 stat line, quests for 1, and Ward, which is one of the things that makes him playable in the slightest, and then the ability Squeak. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So in that vein, we are running Donald Duck, Flynn Rider, Jafar Dreadnought, Tragic Hero Beast, and Giant Fairy Tinkerbell. Lots of Floodborn targets to be able to just make our opponent discard cards. We're also running the Tiny Tink as a potential shift target. We're also running the 2-cost Flynn Rider as a shift target, and that Flynn Rider obviously is inherent to our discard strategy. In that vein, we are of course running only 3 copies of Prince John, greediest of all, 3-cost Uninkable, 1/2 stat line, quest for 2, also with Ward, and the I Sentence You ability. Whenever your opponent discards 1 or more cards, you may draw a card for each card discarded. So refueling your resources as you deny them for your opponent. I like a 4 from my experience, just because this is like quite a key combo piece. But that being said, it's not entirely necessary. There are other ways we've got of drawing. Not many, but Donald Duck and Jafar and Beast being our most consistent. And it's not the end of the world to go turn 2 Bucky, turn 3 Bucky, or even if you don't get a turn 3 Bucky or Prince John drop. As long as you've got the Bucky on turn 2, then you're still set up for turn 4 to be able to play a Floodborn and start your opponent discarding. So it's not the end of the world to miss Prince John early. So I can see where they were coming from on only running 3. We've got 3 copies of Benja, removing those items, respecting the meta. As I said, Donald Duck, Perfect Gentleman, is another card that we can use to draw cards. Yes, it refuels our opponent, but in perfect worlds, we are making them draw 1 card when they had an empty hand, and then we're immediately discarding it by playing a Floodborn with Bucky or one of our other discard cards. Of course, we've also also got his own biggest fan, Flynn Rider, that we talked about. 4-cost, uninkable, 2/3 stat line. Evasive, and quests for 4 normally, but with the 1 last big score ability, this character gets -1 lore for each card in your opponent's hand. I think definitely one of my most underrated cards from Rise of the Floodborn. When I first saw him, I didn't think he'd be online enough, but he really is online a lot, especially with this deck, and this he can really be a catch-up king, can this Flynn Rider. So yeah, big fan of this. Only a 2 count. You could also run the 1-drop Flynn Rider as an extra shift target and to be a 1-drop character, but we are, instead of running characters for 1-drops, we've got Fire the Cannons, which we'll get to. We've got 4 copies of Jafar Dreadnought. Obviously, we're not running the baby Jafar, so we can't shift him, but 3/4 stat line is pretty good. 3 is an important number to hit against a lot of decks, especially early to mid-game, and especially a lot of Amethyst stuff, which is obviously very prominent in our meta. And with your so you're taking out most of them, and with your 4 willpower, quite often you're surviving the hit and getting even more value. And even if they don't quest or do anything to exert their characters to open you up to challenging, then you're slowing them down. But yeah, the reason we'd want to challenge is because we have now where were we? During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. So we're refueling our resources with this, or we're just making our opponent play slower because they don't want us gaining extra cards off of Dreadnought. Of course, the 4 Tragic Hero Beast, one of the strongest cards in the game, going to let us draw, and he's a Floodborn, so Bucky loves it. Tinkerbell, also a Floodborn, and just still one of the strongest cards in the game, good for that initial ping damage, and just being able to just create such pressure with the Puny Pirate ability, putting 2 damage counters on a character whenever she banishes a character. So if your opponent's got a nice wide board, Giant Tinkerbell is going to take advantage. Improvise is here purely as I went second, you played a 1-drop, I don't have all my combo pieces, so this is my way of just having a more consistent deck and just being able to see more cards, because it really is important to get. You really want Bucky down before turn 4, but at least him or Prince John, otherwise we can really struggle. So yeah, improvise here purely for that, or it's ink. Fire the Cannons, as I mentioned earlier, we have a slower couple of turns, especially because our turns 2 and 3 in Perfect Worlds really are Bucky Prince John or Bucky. So we have a slow couple of turns, so turn 4 really needs to mean something. So sometimes it's really important to be able to, if you go normally if you go second, to be able to just immediately remove a threat, especially against aggro, and just slow them down a little bit and give us a chance to get our board established and start denying them cards. Hypnotize obviously is another great discard card, and we can draw a card from playing it, and obviously all this discard stuff is going to work great with Prince John. 4 copies of Smash, which I think is really important. Strength of a Raging Fire is here at a 3 count, and you can get to the 3 characters on board a lot of the time to assure you're hitting that 3, but sometimes you don't, and I just think some characters need to go straight away. Aerials, Arthurs, things like that. So I really like the counter Smash. Sudden Chill is another discard card, obviously, so we love to see it. Strength of a Raging Fire, as we just talked about, for some extra ping, and 2 copies of Grab Your Sword just to contribute a bit more to towards our board control. So yeah, deck's really strong. It's a lot of people are covering it at the moment. It's why I'm annoyed that I'm late in covering it, but expect full coverage of this deck along with some example games from myself very soon. But yeah, undefeated in Swiss, so congratulations to Shane. Next up in top 4, we have some Ruby Amethyst. I've called this Spellbook Sam. So we've got 7 1-drops, 4 mini, 3 Olaf. We've got our traditional count of Madam Mim Snake and Fox. We also see the 4 Goat, the 4 Rabbit, and the 4 Maleficent, all in on those draw cards in in this particular deck. Only 1 copy of Stylish Surfer Mini, which is a great early aggro card, but I agree this could be a 1 or 2 count quite comfortably. I think is fine. We're also seeing 2 copies of Jetsam, which I used to call Jet Sam all the time, which is why I've called this Spellbook Sam. But yeah, we've got Jetsam, which is just a 4-drop, inkable 3/3 with Evasive. Yes, he also has Sinister Slither, but we're not running Flotsam, so that's irrelevant. But yeah, this is a pure counter to Minnie Mouse, who is in so many decks, is really strong, and we take her out, we survive, we can potentially take out a couple of them and survive. So yeah, I really like Jetsam as a response card to the meta, because Minnie is everywhere, so I love to see it. We've got 4 copies of Maui, only 1 copy of Yzma, 4 Lady Tremaine. We see the 2 Ursula here again, cropping up in a lot of these Ruby Amethyst lists. Just so big and bulky with that 8, unless they've got hard removal. If they're running, if it's like Steel Amber Songs and they're relying on chip damage, then they're really going to struggle to take out Ursula. She quests really high. The Lore Denial is really important, especially in the mirror match, or even if you're just against a Flute based deck. Sometimes it can be that close by just denying one lore can be all it takes to bring you out in lead. And of course we can reuse Ursula with our bounce card, so yeah, really like it. 4 counter Maleficent. This is commonly becoming a lower count in most Ruby Amethyst decks, but Scott all in at 4, so you'd love to see it. Did well for them. 4 copies of Tifa and Ambition, still really strong, good against Steel Amber, great against aggro, great. 4 friends on the other side, 4 Be Prepared, and then 3 copies of the Sorcerer's Spellbook. So more than we're seeing in a lot of Ruby Amethyst lists, but I really like this list. I think 1 Yzma is fine. I would like 2, but if you need the cut, I think that's reasonable. I really like the 2 Jetsam. I'd probably go to 3 Tifa. No, I'd go to 3 Maleficent and go up to another Yzma personally. But other than that, I really like this list. Congratulations to Scott. The next Ruby Amethyst Control in top 4, we've got Michael. Once again, I called the Spellbook Control. If they're only running 1 Spellbook, I will not put Spellbook in the title because I think 1 is pretty standard. I think 2 or above, you are more leaning into Spellbook, so I will put Spellbook in your deck title name. But yeah, we've got 8 1-drops here. My friends, as someone that's missed 1-drops a lot, I understand. So yeah, all in. We see the traditional snake and fox, Madam Mim. We see the 4 Maleficent, the 4 rabbit, the 4 goat. We also see the 2 crab in here, making our 1-drops all the more delicious. All in on the mini stylish surfer, so Jetson probably put in work against this particular deck. We also see the 2 talkative puppet Pinocchio, 2 cost uninkable, 1/1 stat line, quest for 1, but most importantly, telling lies. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. Really strong against aggro, but just exerting characters has always been good. So I really like the 2 of Tech of Pinocchio, 3 Maui, 2 Yzma, only 3 Tremaine, only 2 Maleficent. So we are leaning a lot more into our mid game here. Really, like lots of 1-drops, crabs to be able to boost them. Love it. And we should be. This deck looks pretty consistent. 4 Tifa and Ambitions, 4 friends, 4 Be Prepared, and 2 Sorcerer's Spellbook. So yeah, some slight differences. The Pinocchio and the crab, as opposed to the Floatsome, a lower count of our high-end cards like Tremaine and Maleficent. But yeah, deck looks really good. So congratulations to Michael. There's one more top 4 list, but we'll skip to this because it's another Ruby Amethyst control deck. But yeah, this one is courtesy of fellow content creator and friend of the channel, Lorcana Goons, who got a top 8 placement. So huge congratulations to them. I'm sure you know who Lorcana Goons is if you're watching my channel, but if you don't for any reason, go and sub to them. Great people, great content. Yeah, support, and well done to them in this particular tournament. So, yeah, Lorcana Goons with some Ruby Amethyst Spellbook Control. We are seeing the 2 Spellbook. So, yeah, we've got 6 1-drops, 4 Olaf, and 2 Mini. And I spoke to Lorcana Goons via DM about this, and a lot of my information today comes from inkdex.com, but a lot of it also comes from directly Lorcana Goons, who was sending me the information. And apparently the inkdex.com put that Lorcana Goons played 3 Olaf and 3 Mini, and he was adamant that this was unacceptable and it's always a 4-2 split. He seemed quite disgusted at the I'm being dramatic, but yeah, in a jokey way, he seemed quite disgusted at the concept of the 3-3 line. Lorcana Goons says it, if you're running 6, it should be 4-2, although I would go 4 Mini and 2 Olaf, but just saying. Anyway, we also see the traditional counts of Madam Mim Snake, Fox. We see the 2 crab again, giving great value to our 1-drops and just all of our characters in general. We see the 3 Maleficent, the 4 goat, the 4 Merlin, the 4 mini stylish surfer here. And then we'll go back to this. We've got 2 drops. We've got, I don't know if it's Boone or Boo. I haven't seen this film, but 2-drop, inkable, 2-3 stat line, and then exactly the same Donald Duck with the 2-3 stat line. This, to me, like, good against aggro. You've got more early game cards you can put down. You don't always hit the snake, and sometimes you need to be putting down more characters to answer aggro or to answer Steel Amber songs, or even just for the mirror. So yeah, I can see why these put in work, and I wouldn't be surprised if before the end of this meta we see some more Ruby Amethyst lists slip in a couple of these 2-3 2-drops. Did really well for Lorcana Goons, and yeah, I like, again, especially against Steel Amber and aggro, I feel these probably would have been really strong. And then even against the mirror or anything else, sometimes with this deck you just miss your early drops and you don't get anything down until turn 3, which can really be bad. So just making sure you've got a more consistent early game, I really like. Also the 2 copies of the Fu, which are also 2 drops, but you never put this down on turn 2. This is for re-readying our characters, so lovely. We don't see an Arthur in this particular list. We see 4 Mao, Maui, 3 Lady Tremaine, once again the 2 Power Hungry Ursula, putting in lots of work, 3 Maleficent, 3 Teeth and Ambitions, I really like these counts, 4 Be Prepared, 4 Friends on the Other Side, and 2 Sorcerer's Spellbook. So yeah, a little bit of innovation, not something we've seen this meta with these generic 2 drops coming in, but I can see why, and I wouldn't be surprised if it catches on a bit. So yeah, massive congratulations to Lorcana Goons. Going back to our top 4, we have some Mufasa's Wish, a deck that I covered quite extensively recently, as did quite a lot of other Inktubers. So, yeah, really glad to see this catching on, and there are 3 in this top 8 list, so this won't be the last one that we look at. But yeah, this one is Mufasa's Wish, so we've got the 4/4 Rockstar Stitch line just as an aggressive quester and to be able to use Adoring Fans, in which we have many. We've got the Queens, the Simbas, the Snow Whites, the Gothels, and the Queen of Hearts. Obviously, these queens can also shift into our Commanding Presence Queen, who is a great shift target for some lore pressure and to help manipulate strength for onboard characters. 3 Simba as just another way to bodyguard our more important pieces like Doc and things like that. And again, just to be another 2-drop that we can get out as an Adoring Fan. And he's pretty good, like, if you hit him off of Mufasa as well, because sometimes if they sequence in a way where they challenge Mufasa first before challenging your Doc or your something else that they would have wanted to challenge, in comes Simba Bodyguard, and now that option is taken away from them, so I really like it. We see the 2 copies of Snow White, who not only... The healing can be relevant at times, and I'm sure... I dare say came up, but predominantly she is an Adoring Fan, but also a great shift target for our Well-Wisher Snow White. Shift 4, 3/5 stat line, quest for 2, 6 cost uninkable, but wishes come true. Whenever this character quest, you may return a character card from your discard to your hand, which is really great for this. It's just an aggro deck, really, but with just ways to cheat out these much stronger characters and have a more reliable mid to late game. So I really like the Snow White inclusions. Mother Gothel is here mostly to pair up with Rapunzel and just give us an assured path to drawing. Queen of Hearts is a great response to aggro and to Steel Amber Songs if they leave their Ballroom Sensation Cinderella vulnerable because they didn't think that you would be able to challenge into it. So you love to see it, and another Adoring Fan. Doc obviously is one of our cost-saving cards. Whenever this character quest, you pay 1 less ink for the next character you play this turn. So getting down Doc on turn 3 means that turn 5 we can get out the big man Mufasa himself, and of course questing for 2 in itself is pretty good. Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer, again, quest for 2, evasive, annoying, and if you hit her through Mufasa, then quite often, unless they've already got an evasive character on board that can still challenge, you're surviving that turn. For Rapunzel, as I said, works really well with Mother Gothel, but works well with pretty much anything. Maui's a good target for this, just to be able to give us some more card draw. Mufasa, the big man, the betrayed leader, 5 cost inkable, 3/3 stat line, quest for 2. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may play that character for free. They enter play exerted. Otherwise, put it on the top of your deck. So this is something that not only just quests big, and if they leave him alone, he's just going to keep questing. The 3 strength is quite fine. We'll take out a fair amount of things if you get him down turn 4 or 5, but yeah, it just allows us to cheat out characters that sometimes hitting those big Maleficents, those Surfer Stitches, those Tremaines, those Snow Whites can be game changing, so love it. We've talked about the Queen. 4 Maui is just one of the most powerful cards in the game and not a bad hit to get off your Mufasa. Talked about Snow White and Stitch. Lady Tremaine here again as some more removal, Stitch as some more card draw, because we don't have a lot of card draw going on. We've got Rapunzel, we've got Adoring Fans, which isn't the most reliable card draw ever, but yeah, Surfer Stitch can really help us maintain our regain resources and keep us in the game. 3 Maleficent, I like this as a 4 personally. I think you do want to maximise those odds of hitting with Mufasa, but not just that, it's not unreasonable to get Maleficent out turn 6 or 7 with Lanterns and Docs, but 3 did well for Liam, and of course the 3 Lanterns, which is another way of reducing our character cost. So if we get either this down on turn 2 or Doc down on turn 3, then from turn 5 we have access to Mufasa, and it just allows us all sorts of quicker ways to get down Maui's, Tremaine, Stitches, all that stuff. So I'm a big fan of this deck. Really glad to see that it's catching on. So yeah, congratulations to Liam. Next up in top 8, we got Ethan with another Mufasa's Evasives, I've called this one. We saw a list very similar to this in a recent set of top 8s that I covered. Can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but I'll try and put it up on the screen. But yeah, basically the same thing going on here. We're running a lower count of Surfer Stitch, only 2 counts of Maleficent. We are seeing Scar here, who I really like in this list. Yeah, really strong in this list, being able to just keep challenging, and if he banishes the opposing character and survives, you can re-ready, so he can be a mini Be Prepared in his own way and the right board states. Yeah, I really like Scar in this deck. We're only seeing 1 Snow White, we're seeing 3 Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer, only 2 Simba in here. But yeah, the main other difference being that we're seeing 2 Pongo and 2 Goofy. Again, this is an aggro deck, so this does make sense, just be able to just apply that early pressure and just win the game before your opponent has too much of a chance to respond. They're also great targets, obviously, for Mufasa, because there's not a lot of evasive in format other than mini stylish. So there's not a lot of offensive evasive in format. So they're going to demand hard removal, really. Goofy especially, because we saw the inclusion of Jetsam, who would deal with Pongo but wouldn't deal with Goofy. So yeah, I actually think I might end up running a count of Goofy in my version of this. I am liking that more and more the more I see it. But yeah, slightly different way of playing the deck, more of an evasive version, but led Ethan to a top 8 finish, so congratulations to them. And finally, we have, well, finally for the Amber Ruby Mufasa decks, we have Chris. The list looks pretty much the same as the first deck. We are seeing the 4 Maleficent here, which I like. We're seeing the 3 Hades here. So we're still seeing the 2-cost Snow White, but we're not seeing the Floodborn version. Instead, opting for Hades, and who can be better than Snow White, because the problem with Snow White is you're not always getting assured value. Yes, if you shift into the Snow White, you can immediately quest, presuming the 2-drop Snow White was dry. If you then you put down the 2-drop Snow White, and then the next turn you play the Floodborn Snow White, and then you can immediately quest to guarantee that you're getting the ability off. But sometimes the Snow White goes down just flat or comes in off of the Mufasa, and if they've got sometimes they can just deal with it before she has the chance to actually get her value. Hades is assured value. He only needs to hit the board to recycle that character, and with Lanterns and Docks, there are pretty good odds that by turns 5, 6, 7 onwards, you can play Hades, get back the piece you need, and then immediately play it. Again, like I said, especially if you're utilising Docks and Lanterns. So even though I opted to not play Hades and played Snow White, when I did my full review of this deck, I did say Hades is a perfectly fine choice, and I wouldn't blame you for going that way, and that's the way Chris went, and it led them very well. But other than that, the deck looks the same. We're seeing no Bodyguard Simba in this particular list, which I think is fine. But yeah, I like these higher counts of Maleficent and Stitch. We see the 2 Teeth and Ambitions, which I do understand. Like, again, we can have a slower first couple of turns, even though we've got a lot of aggro stuff. Sometimes we don't want to play the aggro route. Sometimes we want to go turn 2 Lantern, turn 3 Dock. So in that vein, you don't always even want to put down a 1-drop. I don't know. Personally, I'm not a fan of running the Teeth and Ambitions in here. I especially don't want to up my percentile that I'm going to miss off Mufasa, because again, if he hits a non-character card, it just goes back to the top of the deck. But we have seen other Amber Ruby Mufasa lists that have done well, that are running the 2 count of Teeth and Ambition. So you've got to listen to the data. So yeah, congratulations to Chris. And then our final deck in top 8, something else that has recently been covered by Zephyr, although they're not I don't think they were the originator of this deck. I think they got that deck off of someone in a Discord they're in. I have watched the video. I can't remember the name of the person who actually made this deck. If you know, put it in the comments and I'll pin it. But yes, Gaston's Flute. So taking advantage of obviously Sleepy's Flute, which allows us to just gain lore from singing songs, but going a slightly different way with it. We are running the Baritone Bully Gaston. No one plays the flute like Gaston. He's singer 5, he's got a 3/3 stat line, and he's inkable. I think he probably brings value. And look at that godly art. Anyway, sorry. Love this Gaston. Yeah, it's going to allow us to sing quite a few of our songs here. He obviously can't sing Grab Your Swords. No, he can sing Grab Your Swords, A Whole New World. I went insane for a moment there. Yes, just like Ariel, he can sing all of our songs. Really cheap. And just another way to just play these songs more aggressively and just get your Sleepy's Flute exerts off quicker. Yeah, clearly doing well. I'm yet to test it, so I can't speak about it with a bedrock of experience to back up my thought trail. But just from watching the video with Zephyr, playing this deck. Looks good. I can see why it's working. Took a little while for Gaston to catch on, at least for the majority of people. I'm sure some people were running it secretly right from the beginning. But yeah, like just making this deck even stronger. But let's go through everything. We got the 4 Ballroom Sensations. Cinderella is another way to sing these songs cheaply. World's Greatest Criminal Mind to remove those 5+ strength characters. 4 Storm Rage On for some chip and to draw another card. And Strength of a Raging Fire can obviously get up quite high in the amount of damage it's doing if you've got a nice wide board. We've got Tiana in here just as another 1-drop, 3/1 stat line. We've got the 4 copies of Simba Bodyguard. We also see 2 Prince Eric. Like him and Hook are coming back stronger and stronger as it becomes more of a meta dominated by characters with 3 willpower. So yeah, value. The Robin Hood also making his way in here. Commonly really was only being seen in decks with Emerald to benefit the Relentless Beast. But yeah, like 1/3 stat line can be annoying to get around if you're just like, if you're only exerting when you are doing the ping damage, which then finishes off the last character on their board, then Robin Hood can be quite difficult to take out, because generally that's the way you play with him. You don't exert him to do the ping unless you are actually removing something, obviously in combination with stuff like that, the Storm Rage On, Grab Your Sword, Strength of a Raging Fire, etc. So yep, like in the Robin Hood. Of course, Ariel here is another spectacular singer, and to help find those songs. Benja just as a 1 count, respecting the meta, removing opposing flute, spellbook, all that sort of stuff. Only 2 Rapunzel in this particular list, but we do have other draw, obviously, through Whole New World, things like Let the Storm Rage On, and of course our Tragic Hero Beast, one of the best cards in the game. I will say it every single time. Only 3 copies of Giant Tink. We see 2 copies of Surfer Stitch for some additional card draw, 2 copies of Cinderella. We don't see the 19 training Cinderella, but can shift onto this Ballroom Sensation and just be another really aggressive card with the Resist and the Singing Sword ability, taking advantage of songs that we want to play anyway. And then, yeah, obviously the songs we've talked about, Whole New World for refill, Grab Your Swords for some extra board control, and Sleepy's Flute to help us draw those extra cards. So, another deck that I expect to gain a lot of popularity. But this is great because Ruby Amethyst was always good, Steel Amber Songs was always good. Yes, this is Steel Amber Songs, but it's a different way of playing it, which I really like. Mufasa's Wish, like Amber Ruby is getting a lot better, and Steel Amethyst is getting a lot better. So I think the meta is healthier than what has been reflected thus far. I think like Ruby Amethyst will continue to dominate, I think, but you've got to give a lot of credit just to the fact that most people were playing it because they think it's the only deck that can compete. As more data comes out with these other decks, you know, going the distance, I think you'll see more pilots representing these other decks, and we'll start to get a bit more of a mix in the inks that we're seeing in top 8. Maybe I'm wrong. We're still going to see a lot of Ruby Amethyst, but I think it's going to even out a little bit more. But yeah, Gaston's Flute, really love it. Congratulations to Zach. And that is it for the top 8 deck lists for the Tier 1 Games event. Yeah, like I said, still a lot of Ruby Amethyst, but I think as more of this data comes out showing other decks doing well, we will start seeing more of a split in deck representation, and then hopefully we'll be covering more sorts of lists. And it's nice to see like there's still degrees of innovation coming, and like even if that's just going back to stuff that was working last format that people thought just wasn't working anymore. So yeah, I'm still enjoying the meta. Mostly there are a couple of problem cards, but yeah, I still think it's fairly healthy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm going to talk a little bit more now about what I said at the beginning, not in great depth. I'll be here an hour and it will completely break down. But yeah, I more than anything just want to apologize. Like when I started this channel, like I still am so driven and like so grateful for the responses to it and to the success I had. And I'm the sort of person, like I just hit a bit of a brick wall. Didn't have a great Christmas and New Year's. My mum, who I'm a full-time carer for, had a bit of a breakdown, which, you know, it's hard. It is hard. So yeah, I just wasn't in the best place mentally. If I'd have forced myself to continue doing stuff, it wouldn't have been me. It wouldn't have been me. But yeah, at the same time, I'm there also like saying to myself, oh, you're being ungrateful. You've created something and you've got like a really respectable audience that I'm so appreciative of, and now you're just disappearing, and tons of people would love to be in your shoes, I'm sure. And like then you start digging it yourself, and I know it's not a good mindset to have, and sometimes I'm going to need reminders to help break me out of that, and tell me that it is okay to stop and breathe. But yeah, I just want to say sorry, but my intention is to be a lot more consistent from now on, and not just because I want to, because I want to be doing that. I want to be a consistent channel, and I have big dreams for what I hope this channel could turn into, and what potential changes it could make to my life. I'm still not monetized. I'm still in communication with the YouTube team. Again, not that I think it's going to make a huge difference even when it does go through. I don't know what ad revenue from my regular view account would look like. I have another channel, but my other channel, I've got a couple of videos that did really well, but by and large, most of my videos would do 100 viewers. So I know what it's kind of like to have ad revenue from a very different perspective, but I'm not sure what it will be like for this. But yeah, I'm keen to get that sorted out soon, because I do need to support myself. I am someone that, if this succeeds for me and like it does take me places and I can start having a bit more of a comfortable life and being able to give my mum a bit more of a comfortable life, I am someone that's going to give back. But at the moment, it's not so easy to. Like I basically live month to month, so I am keen to get that sorted. But yeah, I'm ranting now. Nonetheless, it's good to be back. I apologise for the break. I will be more consistent from now on, and I want to get, I know I've been saying this for ages, but I want to get Fun Deck Meta started again soon. Like I said, I've got a whole deck review coming for the Bucky Discard, and to be fair, I haven't been completely taking a break. I have been working on another project in the background involving some other content creators, and a potential little tournament I might be working on organising. I don't want to say more than that until a few things are confirmed, but the cogs have still been turning. There's still been stuff going on in the background, and yeah, I hope to have quite a cool announcement for a little project in the next couple of weeks. But that is it from me for now. As always, thank you so much for all your support. Do please hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're brand new for all things Lorcana, and we'll see you soon.